Um,
Okay. So, why this production?
so something happens here, okay? Somebody will say, "Look, the flower women." Sanjana, this is my 13th production at FLUX, and this is something, the topic itself has been something very close to my heart. I always wanted to bring a lot of women on stage and tell women's stories. And I have been trying to do women centric work, bring in women's emotions, their feelings on stage. But this time specifically, I wanted to bring it out without crying, without having any tears, without having any sadness or any anger. I just wanted to operate from a relaxed space as women naturally sort of flow into, and bring that on stage. Let the piece feel very relaxed, informed, slow, almost like slowly brewing an idea and a concept of sorority. We have genuine love for each other because there is an invisible thread, like I always say, that connects all of us. Whether it's grief, whether it's betrayal, whether it's feeling like we are not part of this patriarchal system, or that we are empowered yet exploited, and that there is so much on our plate to deal with, where do all those complex emotions and feelings go? Art becomes a really nice space then to bring all those feelings together and use that to express it through humor. I really believe that feminine humor and just generally the way women approach lightness and joy and humor is very intelligent to me. Women humor is very intelligent, and I wanted to bring that also in this production. So there are so many things that I wanted to do when it came to just getting the inner life of women out on stage. And so Glad You Came is about showing snippets and montages of women-centric life and what that means in a patriarchal world, and how are women dealing with that through humor, through intensity, through rebellion, through an inner revolution. And it's happening. We are equal to men in today's day when it comes to financial independence, when it comes to even freedom of speech and expression. I'm sitting here and I'm talking about this. I feel extremely empowered. But feeling empowered and being empowered, and yet feeling like we are second amongst equals. We are the second gender that is given priority in this world, and that is also something that we regularly, consistently feel. So if there is that complexity in our lifestyle and what we feel, then it's nice to bring that on stage and create a dialogue and have a conversation, and hence art comes to the rescue. And this is a piece that is made with a lot of love, care, attention, sensitivity, information, and I just feel like somehow we can touch a chord in other people's hearts, men and women both, and that it can start a dialogue, and then we can take it forward.
I had a dream that I wanted to get married.
while working for this production, specifically Glad You Came, I wanted to address certain concepts like resilience, courage, fortitude, being in the state of flow, relaxed women, not very aggressive women, patience, wisdom, being crazy enough to be able to change the way our condition is at this point, open dialogues, and most importantly, humor, to do it with a certain kind of ease and lightness.
So I think with Glad You Came, this is a really interesting and relevant piece right now because it talks about what would you imagine if you didn't have the constraints you have today, right? And in that way, it interrogates and explores patriarchy, not in the traditional way of saying, oh, these are some issues that women face under a patriarchal structure, but rather to say if that didn't exist, then what are you exploring, really?
I just don't think right now is the right time to get married ever.
So I think that's a really interesting way to look at a system from outside in some ways. I think what's also interesting is it's exploring the idea of, say, the gaze that women are under. You could call it the male gaze, you could call it any gaze, but I think women are often shaped by how they're seen, and that's, you're conditioned to do that from a very young age, right? Right from the way you talk to the way you look to what you can say. And I feel like what this production is really trying to do is flip that gaze a little bit, where you are not trying to be seen, but you are trying to see. And I think that's also really interesting in terms of what would you be or who would you be if that gaze didn't exist. I'm somebody who runs an organization who has a lot of power in many ways, in the sense that I am privileged, I'm educated, I speak English, I run an organization, in spite of which I don't feel like my voice is heard in many places. And it takes a lot for me to make myself visible in the way I want to be visible, not in the way I don't want to be visible, because I think we are visible in ways that we don't want. And the voices that we want to have often are not heard.
One of the things that stood out for me was freedom, and I feel that freedom is a core tenet for all human beings. And somehow, the way the systemic oppression of patriarchy is concerned, women's freedom is always doubted, controlled, suppressed, mutilated, butchered. And that kind of has repercussions on not just their mental health but also their physical bodies. And I wanted to address freedom from that space. And one of the monologues from the production that talks about freedom goes like this: a bag full of freedom. He said, "Take it. I give this freedom to you."
A bag full of freedom. He said, "Take it. I give this freedom to you." No, I said, no. Just step out of the way. That's all.
like a humorous element and a dark element to it.
So this production for us is special because we have 16 women behind this, about 13 on stage and 3 that was part of the process. This is a production that has listened to all their stories, and it's a culmination of all of those experiences and realizing that there is a common thread. In spite of the variation in experience, there is a common thread, a common system that has been holding us back in one way or the other, right? So this production is special for me because it gives us a chance not just to explore, but as an artist personally, I feel somebody has to say this. Somebody needs to put this out and say it. You know, it's only thousands of millions of voices saying it softly in many places that will accumulate to bigger change at some point. So I'm very grateful and honored to be a voice that is able to say this. Somebody needs to say this, and I'm not afraid to say it. And art is the best medium to do that, because the beauty of art is that you don't explain things correctly. It's not rational. In a world where people are making sense of everything logically, rationally, we are showing you a story with deliberate abstract gaps because we want people to think. If you show the whole story, they'll watch it and go. But that is where art comes in.
So I think what's been really interesting about this process too is that it's an all-women cast talking about things that we deal with every day. And I think very often women do sort of form that foundation for a lot of what happens in society in terms of support, right? Women often form that infrastructure of support for families that work everywhere. And I think often many of us rely on our mothers, sisters, grandmothers, female friends for that sense of community. But I think actually finding that community so quickly, because we have this common narrative of what we experience, that coming together was really quick, and as a process it was really interesting because we are talking about that idea of solidarity among women and support among women, and I think that also happened through the process where I think we were able to laugh a lot together, we were able to create a lot together, and that community came quicker because it comes from that common lived experience of occupying a space as a woman. Oftentimes there are things that you experience that you're not sure whether this is just you, and to have that reaffirmed by a group of women is really, really a very strong, powerful thing. Also, I think to be able to do it in a fun way. I think very often these things can become really heavy and intense, and I think with various histories of violence, violation, which a lot of women experience, most women experience, all of this can become very angry. And I think to be able to process it with people who are really coming from a place of love and care is really interesting, because it also then turns that art into something that's loving and that's free and that's happier, while also dealing with something that's really, really intense. And I think that was a really amazing, incredible experience to sort of be part of.
And mostly it's just us expressing who we are and how we are. There has to be a balance of the female voices that are heard and the men's voices that are heard. We're far off from the balance, but happy to be part of it, however small it is, because that is what is going to make lives better for the people to come. I stand on the shoulders of people who have done this for me. The reason I'm able to freely participate in an act of art, it's not easy. In my very own family, there are girls who cannot dream of the kind of free life that I have, free expression that I have. And that is thanks to the people who have worked before for me. And so in whatever little voice we can say what we feel, I think that's all. That's just really what we want to do. I think the second wave of feminism had this idea that women have to get out into the workspace, earn money for themselves very well and good, but somewhere the narrative has shifted to women being able to do a man's job. Right, women are accepted when they are able to do the man's job, drive the man's car, be in that world and sort of display those abilities, the masculine abilities. That is what we confused for empowerment, I would say, for the longest time. What has happened in these few years, and I have seen my own mother going through this. She was working, she had a business, she was empowered, she would get everything done in the house. So she would go to work as much as my father would go to work, but she would come back and take care of the house as much as any housewife would, right? So this is not really empowerment, this is exploitation, very clearly. And anybody doesn't see this at this point is kind of blind? I don't know. So there is this, we've tried bringing that into the piece, both verbally, very clearly through humor, and also viscerally we have covered this with the various forms of art that we are doing. So me as a performer in this piece, I am painting, I am acting, and I am dancing. I've also been part of the process of writing this. We've all been part of the process. So what we hope to visually convey is the fact that we are empowered. We've been lifted enough. What we need is for the life around us to recognize that and to lift themselves up to understand the way we live our lives and participate in it with us. That's not an easy thing to say, and that's not a very acceptable thing to say, because we still live within this system. There are few people who understand, beautiful, but for the most part, well, I don't have to say what the world truly is.
I was exploring this idea of the archetype rather of the relaxed woman. What does it mean to be a relaxed woman? Not a rested woman, because rest comes from years of burnout, and then you say, I can't do anymore, I just got to rest. That's coming from a place of fatigue. Or you are empowered and you keep working, and you're not relaxing and you're not resting, and you are climbing up the ladder, so to say, and you're becoming successful by male standards, by masculine standards, by rather patriarchal standards. But what happens to just pure relaxed state of being? So we started exploring motives in the physical body of what it means to be a relaxed woman, and it's been an internal growth and evolution for each one of us also. And because we're also speaking so much about sorority and the fact that women are not each other's biggest enemy, this is a lie that is fed to us. If left to us, we would never compete. We are meant to be collaborative, we are meant to have a sustainable way of life, and we don't compete with each other actually. So when we were all working together, we found that sorority in each other, and we found that sisterhood and friendship with each other, and it was very rewarding. And our power really is when we are together and we are not competing, we are very powerful. Women are naturally, inherently, I believe, very resilient. The phoenix burns to the ground and rises back up for us over and over again. It's happened way too many times. So I think our strength is when we are together, when we are not angry, when we are not crying, when we are really looking at things the way they are, building resilience and fortitude, and going for it with a certain sense of calm, peace, and humor. So yeah, that's my dream.
Did you know that the migration period of some butterflies and dragonflies is so long that it is often only the grandchildren who arrive?